And okay, great. If you don't know who I am, many of you know me from you're on my list, either Bootstrap MD or Income MD, or you're on the non-clinical business Facebook group. I met many of you through there. So glad that you took the time out of your schedule to join me. We're going to talk about physician consulting. It's something that I've been doing for, gosh, close to 15 years as a significant revenue stream for myself. Talk a little bit about how I got started into it, and more importantly, how you can get involved into this. We'll talk about what exactly is physician consulting, what are the different types of physician consulting opportunities that I see currently in 2017, 2018 that you can dive into, what you need to get accomplished, and then we'll talk about our program for those who want to pursue this a bit further. So I'm going to go ahead and get my face off this screen and share with you a presentation that I put together, if I can find it. And let's see, where is it? Let's go ahead and share this with you guys. And here we go. So hopefully you guys could see that now. Um, and we'll get this started. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see my screen there. And do you guys see that okay? Again, I'm trying a new system, so I can't see what you're seeing. So just thumbs up. There's a little hand in there. Just let me know that you guys can see that okay. If not, okay, good. Perfect. So how to become a high-paying physician consultant in 2018. Um, so let's talk about this. So what physic profession has headlines like this? Why doctors are sick of their profession? Kind of start off with something cheerful, right? American physicians are incredibly unhappy with their once vaunted profession. It's something that's, I think our profession is unlike others. We all know that most doctors are very unhappy. This slide shows that physicians in 2017, 40% of doctors plan to drop out of patient care in the next 1 to 3 years, either by retiring or seeking a non-clinical job. 40%, that's crazy. And it's probably more than that. This was taken in 2010. Um, the problem is what is their plan? What are they actually planning on doing? Probably one of the fastest um, things that I've seen is look these Facebook groups they focus on non-clinical um, jobs and side engagements for doctors are just growing, and it continues to grow. But how many are actually going to actually pursue something, or how many just kind of sit in the sidelines and you know look into it while still kind of going through their job and kind of hating what they're doing and kind of sledging through life. If you're on this webinar, hopefully you understand the importance of this, and you're either interested in non-clinical opportunities and you want to be able to generate extra revenue. I've pretty much talked to either on the phone or chatted with many of you who are on this call already. I know where you're at, what you're looking to do. Everybody's, of course, is a bit different, but for many of you, you're already in practice, you're working a full-time practice, you want to do something else, you're not getting fulfilled either through your own career. You may be frustrated with insurances, your current patient population, the bureaucracy, um, lowering reimbursements, and you're looking for a way out. But you don't know which way to pursue. And you got on this webinar because you want to know more about what consulting is. Is this something that's viable? Is this something valuable? And that's what the goal is to introduce this to you. As for me, is one of the most valuable things that I ever did in my physician career. So beyond the doom and gloom, things we've already known about, we know that physician burnout is at an all-time high. There is good news, and the good news is that we have opportunities, and there's opportunities all around, all around the place. I try to live my life in a feeling of gratitude and try to be not just the eternal optimist, but to show that there's more opportunities than what's available. I think when most people are looking for jobs, they go to the typical sites. They'll look on, Indeed.com. They may look at their state physician job site and think those are the only jobs. But there are a lot of other jobs that are out there that never get advertised, that you don't know about, and it often comes about by seeing what other businesses, what are they looking to do, and what you can do to provide value to them. And as someone who has been in business for myself, I haven't worked for anybody in over a decade. I like to think of myself as unemployable, and I'm proud to carry that mantle. There's really been never been a better time to be a healthcare entrepreneur. And the thing is about being a, a looking for a non-clinical job. There's nothing wrong with it, but for myself, I like having the word job. For some, the initials is just over broke. You are working for someone else. And my kind of mantra is you still have an opportunity, despite what others think, is to work as a physician beyond just being an employee and being for someone else. And one of the ways that you can do that is to be a independent contractor as a physician consultant, where you can choose to who you want to work with, when you want to work, where you want to work, whether you want to do this online, whether you want to form your own physical building and or rent a building and have a consulting firm there. It doesn't really matter where it is. And that's why I think for someone who may be in a state of transition, consulting is a great way to go, because you can do this on your own time. You can do this with little fanfare. You don't have to announce it to the world. You don't have to post it on Facebook or on your Instagram. You just start and ask people what they have problems in and what you can do to provide a solution to their problems. So here are my big promises tonight. We're going to talk about how to become a high-paid physician consultant. We'll talk about some of the myths about physician consulting. What is physician consulting? And then we'll talk about something very special for you, for those who want to get additional teaching and mentoring from myself. So before we kind of go into deep, I'll talk a little bit about myself. I'm a primary care physician, graduated at the Mayo Clinic and went into family medicine. I went straight out of residency into a group practice in northern San Diego, California, where I continue to live today. And I worked in primary care, was internists, family practitioners. We had a few OBs, pediatrics, and I joined in, and basically I got put I got put to work. So I worked onto a group that was very um, primary care. That primary care does everything short of OB. We would admit all our patients. We would take care of them in the hospital. At least when I was working, then they developed a hospice program. But I would cap my admissions every 12 a night. I would be on call sometimes every third, generally about every fourth night. When I started my practice, they believed in getting me to see as many patients as they could. And for that, I would have to have various different hats. So I needed to see more patients. We had a little urgent care at the time. I became their urgent care director and started acquiring new patients. We need to take care of patients in our nursing home. And I became a nursing home director for several facilities around our clinic, around our practice. And heck, they needed workman's comp. I did workman's comp stuff. And basically, now all this without additional pay, it probably goes without saying. And more, I was just getting busier and busier. I didn't really think anything much of it at the time. Coming straight out of residency, with that old adage is, we need to, the more you work, the better you are as a clinician, right? So that's where I kind of learned. And really what hit me personally was my birth of my second child, who ended up being autistic, and this was several. This is about in the late early 2000s when autism wasn't as vogue as it is now, I guess. But not a lot of people knew about it. It was a shock to myself. My son was very slow in speech and delays. Had some really social uh, issues that he would come home screaming because everything was too much, the TV, radio, etc. And I didn't really know much about it. I wanted to spend more time with my son and making sure he got all the help that he needed. I'm also the son of a doctor, so I kind of learned firsthand that having a dad as a doctor, I was kind of used to not my dad not being around all the time, and I didn't want that same thing to happen to my kids. And when I mentioned it to my CEO, if I could, like, hey, I want to cut back on the amount of hours, I want to go to some of my son's doctor's appointments and rehab appointments, etc. Um, he basically said, that's great, but we need you, and for us to do that, we can't really afford to keep you part time. So that was like, wow. And instead of going part time, I decided to quit. And it was very difficult to quit. It's not like you can give 2 weeks. It took me 6 months to actually do it. I was a shareholder. I actually had to pay to get out of that position. Um, but what I learned and what that taught me, and some of you asking in chat, about my son, he just graduated high school. He's doing well. He's in a transition program right now for college in terms of community interaction. And for me, and I honestly believe one of the things that helped my son was just being there more often. So how was I able to go from full time to not working? Well, I needed to learn how to build revenue to replace that income that I would lose as a primary care doctor. And so I learned early on about entrepreneurship, and one of the ways that you can generate more revenue is to build your own business, become your own boss. And I've always been entrepreneurial. Um, I started my first business in residency. I had a medical resume business that I will talk about. You may have heard me talk about. And what I did was I started to work with people who were involved with businesses online. I got involved with a little tech community here in San Diego. Um, I got involved, if you guys are in my age, some of you are new and maybe straight out of residency or maybe in residency right now. There was a bit of a dot-com boom in the late 90s and early 2000s. San Diego had a little bit of a tech um, area that I was very interested in. And I just kind of connected with some people who were doing that and into the startup community. I worked with some uh, mentors in online marketing. You may have known names like Frank Kern and John Reese. Some of you may know, may not, but they're pretty big names now. And I got involved in going to different mentoring groups and different mastermind groups, and found a couple business partners who were much. And I had a few ideas I wanted to do, and we started a business software company that did very well, and I was able to sell that back in 2009, and that so I was out of medicine for quite a while, and I got to speak about entrepreneurship and marketing conferences around the world, and it was a great period of time for me. Um, and although when I did that, I always loved medicine, and that's what I want to kind of reiterate. I love medicine, but at the time, I didn't love what medicine was doing to me. I was unemployable. And when I was looking to see what my next adventure was after I sold my company, I had I was speaking about entrepreneurship with doctors, and one of my students was telling me that she had been out of practice, and in her state, they were telling her that she might have to go back to medical school because she had been out of practice. And And that concerned me because I did not want to go back into medical school. And when I was looking for different things that I wanted to do, I said, well, my next adventure, I better make sure I still have my license, and I want to make sure that I'm still, um, I don't want to lose that, because that's still very valuable to me. I did some volunteer work over the years that kept it active, but I remember back in 2009, I said, well, maybe I'll work, and I did some locum tenens for like 5 weeks, and after 30 minutes, I said, yeah, this isn't for me, and I said, why can't I use my entrepreneur skills to start my own practice? And that's what I did. And I started my own practice. And again, I had mentors who were involved in cash-based businesses, and I studied what they did. And success does leave clues. And I was able to use some of the income that I generated from the sale of my company and started investing in my own practice. And I currently have a wellness and age management practice here. And I also have some other practices around Southern California. I also run a medical marketing company. I'm a business consultant. I helped to launch an online reputation management company, blah, blah, blah. And my current love right now is helping launch the non-clinical business group. And what I want to reiterate is for some who are physicians, and I know that there are a number of you who are just like struggling. I don't want to leave medicine. I still want to keep that part of me. And that was myself. I think what I wanted to share with you guys is when I started consulting, although that is part of what I do. I'm in a position now, and I'm so blessed. I'm able to practice medicine because I want to. It's not because I have to. Um, so I still practice probably about 10, 15 hours a week. And that's pretty good for me. But just running the practice and the other stuff. If you ever have to run a business, you have other hats to do. Um, and that's something that I love, and I will never. Oh, that would always be a part of me from me. But I I see so many doctors that don't love what they're doing, and they're just being dragged down. And they sometimes one of the reasons the impetus that I got started is I had some doctors who were actually worked worse than some of the patients that we're taking care of. And I didn't want that to happen to me. And I don't want that to happen to you. So I want to talk about consulting because I think it is a very viable way, especially for some who are full time right now. They're not sure that they want to, um, jump right in and quit their job, but they want to see if this is valuable. And maybe they have the opportunity that I didn't have to go part time or reduce their hours. Um, and again, it's something that you can grow on the side, and then for some, and you'll hear from some who actually have done this now, their full time gig, is it really you can be as flexible and you can work as much or as long as you want or as little as you want. You can do this in the privacy of your own home. There's very low overhead and high margins. In the essence of a consulting business, some of you may have seen a little Facebook Live thing I did last week. It can be as simple as your time, a phone, and an internet connection, and maybe some computer work to type up your invoice on Microsoft Word. It can be as simple as that. You can work when you want to work. You don't have to have formalized training. You don't have to go into the next. You don't have to get an MBA. You don't have to get more certifications. There's really nothing to that. And it's a very lucrative field. The recent research I've done is consulting is a $100 billion industry. And physicians are in high demand. Now, we're going to talk about physician consulting, but really anybody can get into consulting. But there are some markets that they have what we call a barrier to entry. You just can't just develop it. You just can't go into that. I think it could be very valuable to you. And whether it's the perception of being a physician or there is actual physical barrier in terms of actually you can't consult on this unless you're a physician, that allows you to kind of differentiate yourself and really kind of separate you from any competition. And the beauty about the internet is both pros and cons to it. But technology can allow you to run a business from wherever you want to. I've consulted when I've been on an airplane, 20,000 feet up. Um, you can really run it when you want to, and you can put systems in place. And I'm really big on systems and checklists um, that really can minimize the amount of work that you're actually doing, because I don't want this for just to be another job for you. It's really something that you can build and choose who you and when you want to work. Physician consultants, this is just an article. Physicians consultants improve the human condition at the macro level, one business at a time. They use critical thinking and problem solving skills to identify an issue or apply medical knowledge in industries that are not led by physicians. And I'm looking on the chat, and some of you are asking questions. I'm going to try to get to this as much as I can, but I promise you, if we have time left, I'm going to go and answer those questions at the end. If I see something that is kind of pertinent, I'll do that. But if you have any questions, feel free to put that in the chat, and I will gladly try to answer those questions for you. And this is what's different. There was a question I think on one of the Facebook posts, is aren't all physicians consultants? And that's true. We consult with patients and we give them our medical advice, and we direct them to follow our medical advice for their treatments. I tend to think of consulting is focusing more, and what they're saying in here is around the industry-client relationship as opposed to the patient-centered relationship. So what I'm mostly focusing on are business physician consultants rather than health consultants, rather than one-on-one. Now, there's certainly such thing as physical or physician clinical consultants. So those could be things like telemedicine. They can be things like health coaching, but that kind of we want to kind of separate those. This is more towards business type consulting. Now there are other consulting where instead of going one-to-one, you can do group clinical consulting, and that kind of focuses on more like a coach aspect. And I really don't want to get into the nuances between consultants and coaching. They're almost one and the same. But I can tell you from experience that if you say that you're a coach versus a consultant, you're not going to get paid as much. It's one of those words that consultant just seems to add a little bit more prestige, especially in terms of when you're going to invoice somebody for that. So that's why I call it a physician consultant. But if you want to use that interchangeably, more power to you. But that's what we're going to talk about in terms of business consulting. So what is a consultant? Basically, do you have information that can help other people? Do you have advice that can help others? If you could provide, my thing is, a lot of people kind of chase the money. We see that in a lot of the forums, especially in the pre-meds, right? Which specialty makes the most money, right? We want to know. And they kind of chase the money, and then you get involved in a career that they find out that they hate. I think a better question is which specialty has the most satisfied physicians in their career. It's not just about money. My thing is about what can you do that can provide value? If you can provide value to the world, my philosophy, the money will always follow. The more people that you can change their life, improve them, you'll always get, the money will follow that. The more you can share information, the more you can get that out into the world. I'm not trying to be woo-woo here or anything like that, but everything that I've done where I can provide as much as I can, more value more money will follow from that. And again, using technology like the internet, allowing me to talk to all of you. Some of you I see not only, they're different states on the East Coast. I'm here in San Diego. Some of you are from Canada. I've done things like this where I'm talking to people in Australia. It's just amazing how technology works. And the more that you can provide value with this, and hardly any little cost here, to yourself, you will always provide, you'll always have a career based upon that. So here are just a few examples of types of consulting. If you're a physician who's ever started a practice, That right there is practice consulting. That is something that is of value, that you will always find people who are always going to be starting their own practice, and they're going to be looking for help in doing that. So if you've ever done that, that is bang, that's a career right there. Um, and then something that I've done, I've helped startup practices, um, and who pay me a fee for starting up for that practice. It can be as simple as, you have a procedure that you've done that you could share with others. I know doctors who started consulting just based upon, hey, I started this, weight loss regimen practice here at my clinic. It's doing really well. Doctors will call him up and will fly down. He will charge so much $1,000 a day for a doctor to share. This is what we do. Here's how we do it. Doctor flies home and he's done. That's another example of a type of consulting. Again, I think a lot of doctors are like, well, I got to take a class to learn this, and then I got to get certified. No, it's as simple as that. If you have some type of specialized knowledge that you can share, and you can share that to others, that is an example of consulting. So if you ever start a private practice, you can help your college colleagues navigate the ins and outs of starting your own practice. Again, I'm just giving you one example. You could focus on something, a general type of practice, or maybe there's something, a nuances. Maybe you want to focus on, how do you choose your location for your practice? Maybe you want to focus on the billing aspects. Which ones are the right ways? If maybe you are the expert at ICD-10 codes, and that really works for you. Maybe you know how to the right EMR, and you know how to take something like Practice Fusion, and you know all the right templates and make it simpler and easier. That's an example of consulting. Dealing with insurances, learning new procedures, how do you handle your billing? Maybe you know how to how to make sure that all your patients are efficiently being run, and you figure out the system. But instead of scheduling patients every 15 minutes, you know to schedule everybody at the top of the hour. Everybody's at 8 o'clock and everybody's at 9 o'clock, and now you can demonstrate that you have 27% more efficiency. Even though you yourself would rather not do that again, maybe that's something that you could share. Everybody's a bit different, and I know some of you on the call like, what do I know? All of you have done something to get to where you are in life. Again, I referenced the Facebook little video I did. You all got into medical school. That's something that's very difficult to do. Not every Joe Schmo and Jane Schmo can go in and get into medical school. Well, there are people who are graduating, as someone who has high school and college kids these days. I've certainly dealt with parents who, for whatever reason, and children for whatever reason, that are in their senior year in high school, and they pay tens of thousands of dollars looking for consultants and getting their kids into the right school. I know a doctor, I just mentioned that's her entire business, is she got into a very good school, and now she consults with other parents on helping their children. They can't guarantee, obviously, but do everything they can to get them into where they want to be in life. And you might think, well, who would pay $10,000 for their kids to do that? Have you seen the price of colleges these days? And that's still part of the American dream: get into the top school, and there are people who are willing to pay for that. So other examples of consulting, to market your own practice. That's what I do. I help practices market in terms of social media, direct mail, using pay-per-click advertising. I help them with reputation management. I've done that in the past. Can you learn about how to get patient referrals from other clinics? Maybe these are things that you've done. Someone who could do those types of things. Those are all different aspects in terms of consulting. And if you really want to focus on a few things, and when I'm looking at consulting, when I'm looking at in terms of pricing, I got a few questions to ask me. Well, how much can I make as a consultant? And It's a very difficult question to answer because that's like saying how long is a string. It depends what you're consulting in. If you're someone who is telling them you are a consultant, and generally when I'm looking at the type of engagements that I'm generally in, I'm generally working with somebody ideally for about 3 months. 3 to 6 months is generally who I'm working with. I certainly have current deals that I'm working on, for years. That's more of a where I get a percentage and a flat fee. But those are long-term deals. So I enjoy working with those. But for the most part, you're generally working with for people for 2 to 3 months. Let's take the example of starting a practice. They're starting a practice. They want somebody in there, and then they pay them for a certain amount, and then they're done. So how much does it cost to start up a practice? It can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. It can cost, depending on the type of practice. So let's say it's a practice where they're going to be doing a cosmetic surgery practice. That costs a lot of money, right? Ideally you want to look at something where whatever is being whatever you're giving, and of course whatever the deliverables are. In general, you're looking at somebody who's going to pay anywhere between $2,000 to $10,000 per engagement. And of course, it depends on what it is, and it's kind of beyond the scope of this call to get into the specifics of it. But in general, you're generally just delivering advice. I'm not focusing on deliverables like you're going to deliver a website for them, or you're going to deliver this, etc. But that's generally what you're looking at. So let's say you're working with 5 clients and they're paying you $2,000 a month. That's kind of what I'm looking at. So if you have 5 clients at $2,000 a month, that's $10,000 a month, and that's why we talked about how to make 5 figures. Imagine, how would you like to get paid $10,000 by seeing 5 patients a month? We would all love that, right? Well, that's kind of the beauty of consulting. And again, all you're doing is sharing knowledge. You're sharing your time. And the ones who get this really well are attorneys. They really know how to bill. As physicians, we're not good at especially at selling ourselves, right, or branding. And that's why for some, there's going to be a little bit of a leap. And that's why I created a course to make things easier for you. And I teach strategies like how to sell without actually selling. But once you establish yourself as the expertise, your expertise really, it's a logical step is, well, why should I waste my time doing things the hard way? I'd rather save time and money by just hiring you to figure it out. So some examples of ideas. Do you have specialized knowledge as a physician? Like I mentioned, in the tech industry, one kind of thing that kind of separated me from others who wanted to work with me is that I was a physician. I'm not saying I was the, John Hopkins #1 out of my class. They look at me because I was a physician and I knew some things. I graduated medical school pretty decent. I went to a pretty good residency. But in general, there are startups. If you're in an area, and there's almost in every big city now, there are big tech startups. If you're familiar with the Society of Physician Entrepreneurs I used to belong to, they have they kind of cater to that. And there are these startups that are looking for physicians to be on a board of directors. They're looking for them to be on their committees. And why are they looking for that? Especially if they're in health. Do you know how valuable it is by having a physician being on their board of directors? That's very, very valuable, to them when they're looking for venture capital money. So those are areas where you could be consulting, and there are so many opportunities like that. It's almost shameful that not more physicians aren't pursuing this because, and again, it takes getting out there and going to places where you get to meet startups. Another consulting, providing research for those who need it, especially if you're looking at inventions. They're going to be asking for help with doctors and trying to make sense of, what is the typical state in the medical research, and how does it pertain to things like that. Those are examples of research consulting. Oh, I forgot to add something like this. I'm currently consulting right now. I've actually hired a consultant right now. some of you know, I have a puppy now. His name is Emmett, and I should have put his picture. It's supposed to be right there. I forgot to put it up there. Anyway, I hired a consultant to help train this puppy because I could do it myself in housebreaking and things like that. Why do I go to the expert? And so he comes in once a week, and I pay him uh, handsomely to help me make sure I'm doing the right thing. And is like, how many of you like, well, why would somebody want to hire me? A lot of this stuff is just for myself. It's common knowledge. That's the perfect example of being a very qualified consultant, is because people are trying to save time, trying to save time and money. I could have read a book about how to housebreak my dog, but I'd rather hire a trainer to come and tell me that. Excuse me. But so people are going to pay you just for saving time. Can you save them money? Can you save them headaches? So an exercise that we do in our program is we go over, what are the types of niches that I could get into. And I've identified historically some that doctors in 2018 should get into. But what are things that are going to save time, money, and headaches? It comes down to what can they provide for me, and if you have that knowledge, you have that. People will pay you money to provide them with that. Just some other examples. We're actually, geez, I only got 20 minutes. I'm sorry. Right now, we're seeing a lot of big changes, right, in medicine, especially for physicians. There is a trend. It's been going on for years. I think of it as a movement, the non-clinical movement. We're seeing a lot of big upheaval. Doctors are trying to go into what they perceive as the grass is always greener and going to new and innovative practices. Right now, one of the things that I'm seeing is a non-clinical consultant. Uh, help. Maybe you yourself are just finding ways to get a non-clinical job. Well, there are career consultants that help transition to that. Um, Physician burnout is a big one. I know they can't even get enough. There's hospitals are trying to deal with this and are paying good money to help them with the physician burnouts when they themselves are probably cause of the problem. Uh, uh, I've helped people convert insurance practices to insurance-free practices. That's something that is of value, the trend towards cash-paying practices. Again, if you have knowledge in those areas, the field is huge. I encourage you to go into and to look at those type of things, if that's something that you can honestly and ethically say that you've done and you have figured out. Another example, See One, Do One, Teach One. This is a gentleman who started a mobile doctor company. If you're familiar with those, they go into the different homes through Medicare, and these are for people who can't often travel to the clinic. The doctor comes to them, and he started his own mobile practice. He sold his own practice, and then what did he do? He then taught other doctors how to develop that type of practice. Now they could another one. A couple of gentlemen that started, family practitioners, who started how to develop their own occupational medicine practice. Now they consult with others on how to start doing that, and they have live workshops on individual consulting. Again, these are just a few examples. There's so many more that I can mention. And when you start seeing things like this, that means that there's money into those niches, in those industries. So, I don't want to go into something that you haven't seen before. Let's say um, you want to consult on um, how to build, I don't know, medical practices undersea, you know, underwater, and you're the expert at doing something like that. Well, if there's nobody else doing it, and you can't find anything, then that's not. It's kind of a silly example, but that's example where it's probably not worth best your time. I like to go into markets that, one, I can help people improve themselves, and two, that I know that there is viability or value, and that's something that I can spend my time on. Um, I'm going to kind of keep going over this, but medical devices, startup health companies, we mentioned that before. Physician to physician sale models. There are consulting where the uh, the pharmaceutical industry is having difficult time with trying to get their pharmaceuticals in front of doctors because we blocked them pretty well. So now they're going to hire doctors. How do you be salesmen? And that's an actually area where they're looking for, the drug companies are looking for physicians to help them with that. So, and I think that's again one of those markets where I see a lot of that those companies have a lot of money and they're looking for ways to get into that. And if that's something that you have knowledge that you can share, then that's something that that you should look into. Um, Other things too, if you want to be consultant for others, there's places like expert witnesses, disability, quality assurances. You can set up wellness programs in hospitals and communities. Um, so don't take my word for it. Just simply look to see where is the money right now. I just took a quick screenshot. This one I think it was from a few months back, but um, here's an ad. We're currently seeking outstanding consultants that are licensed physicians and provide support for the right clinical and operational process behaviors, blah, 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 blah. So basically, they're looking for these doctors to do this. This one I just found this morning, looking for a medical consultant to help with um, life insurance. I think this was something about helping them with long-term insurance and researching it to make sure that they're appropriate for that. And they're paying $200 an hour. And so that's not saying necessarily that you're going to take this job, but you're like, hey, I'm seeing a trend. These are companies that are paying for this. They're going to pay $200 an hour. Not bad. Maybe that's something that I want to do. Well, maybe, so you see those things here. Previous experience as an insurance company is a plus, not mandatory, but maybe that's something that I could start doing as a consultant. Maybe I can start, I'm not saying work pro bono, but you got to get experience. And one of the things that I'm seeing right now in the non-clinical movement is there are a lot of doctors looking for jobs and they don't have the experience. Well, you can either keep, banging your head against the wall trying to get these jobs, or you can start selling yourself as a consultant. Even if you can do it low cost or even free, you're developing yourself with some experience. Maybe you'll some of our insurance company. Hey, I want to do this kind of work. How can I get into it? And then you start branding yourselves, and then voila, now you're getting experience. And now, let's say you don't want to work for yourself, but it's going to make you so much better as an applicant for these types of jobs in the future, and it's going to make you more valuable for others. So some things that you can do right now: do some searches for the term physician consultant, doctor consultant, medical consultant, and you'll get to see an area how big demand these fields really are. So I'm going to give you a few myths of consulting. You need to get an MBA. This is one of my pet peeves every time I see this. I mentioned on the Facebook Live, I have a good friend who is in charge of the MD-MBA program in a very prestigious university. And when I asked him how many physicians are actually going to use this, he said, sadly, very little will. He said the majority of them, and again, this is just him, so don't quote me. I'm just the messenger. He said many doctors are doing this because they're using it as an excuse so they can get away from being an MD for a few years, and now they got to at least pay several $1,000s so they can get a degree under their name. Again, I didn't say that. I'm just telling you what he said. Now, again, I'm not slaying for those who've already had MBAs. I know that doesn't apply to you, but I don't have an MBA. I learned from just experience and the school of hard knocks and running a business and having a payroll for over a decade. There's no better experience than on-the-job experience. And that's another myth. You don't need to have on-the-job experience. You can go on the fly. But you kind of want to make sure that what you're consulting with, if you're telling them that you are the expert in ICD-10 codes, you've never done that, then, obviously you don't lie. But I would rather have someone who has experience than someone who has, book smart. I got a degree on MBA and I basically have studied it and understand theory versus actually, on the job training, actually doing it. So if you truly believe you have the knowledge you can help people, you are a perfect candidate for being consultant. Remember, people want to save time, they want to save money, and they want to save the effort. Consulting doesn't pay well, and that is certainly not true. Um, One of the big posts that I always see is, well, non-clinical jobs, you're not going to get paid as much. And that's certainly true because depending on what the type of job it is. If you're going to do non-consulting job and you're someone who is, I don't know, maybe you're an expert witness, and those type of jobs can be very hit and miss. You have to have a lot of expertise, and it's not something that is often very steady. I know there's some who do very, very well in it, but they've got their name out and they've branded themselves. They have the experience in that, or they have a expertise that is very difficult um, for someone to go in for like a forensic, very specialized forensic pathologist, or a very in-depth neurosurgeon, etc. Something very, very detailed that not a lot of people have. Um, but for me, I've charged as much as $1,000 an hour for consulting. I've never charged that much as a doctor. I've always done procedures, obviously more than that. But um, in general, as working as a family physician, I've never, had to charge where I personally received, that income myself, other than what I've done through consulting. And currently, I've turned away more jobs than I can handle. I walked away from a six-figure consulting position simply because I didn't have a gut feeling on something that the company that wanted to hire me was doing, and it really wasn't what I wanted to do at that time, to devote that time to do that. So um, there are these opportunities that are out there. You just have to be able to go and sell yourself at that. It's expensive to start a consulting practice. Again, you don't have to have any employees. I do think that you should have an assistant. If you're going to be doing any deliverables, we talked about outsourcing and doing things like that. Um, it's not very expensive to start up a business. You can use something like LegalZoom or other legal firms to make it easy. I'm not a lawyer, but it's a lot easier than starting a brick and mortar medical practice. I can tell you that much. And then number 5 is I don't have information that people will pay for. And this is something that I keep driving in my head, that to others who say, I don't know if this is it for me. Then you're doing yourself a disservice. If you have knowledge that you think will help other people, you really deserve to get that knowledge. If you're in a business, I like to say in medicine, if you say the same thing again and again and again, um, you know, that's probably something that you want to take that information and maybe teach others how to do that. If you have something that make things more efficient, can help improve other people's lives, to make them look good, feel good, um, help them become more successful, those are the beginnings of a thriving consulting business. Really comes down to doing a little bit more than someone else. There's a wide variety of information that people appreciate your expertise and insight. Um, and I think one of the reasons why doctors we get burnt out is we don't feel that we're being taken for granted. Our time isn't being validated. We don't have that um, respect that we used to have. And as a consultant, you finally get paid, for what you're worth. Um, People ask, what do you charge as a consulting? My thing is, what are you currently making now? Then double that, and hey, this is something that you want to do. But you set what you're going to charge, and you set whatever you want to do. And again, there are very little hard and fast rules in consulting, but just charge what you want to charge. Yeah, um, this one, and again, I guess I'm sorry I'm going to go over an hour. If anybody has to drop off, feel free. But I just want to kind of finish kind of my thoughts, on it. When you're a consultant, one of the ways that you can brand yourselves is by becoming an expert. And when you start, let's say you found your consulting market, you want to be the expert on that. How do you find? How can people start finding you? Well, is when you start developing a time where a blog, let's say it's a blog that you start, and you talk about these types of things. You talk about um, information that would attract new prospects. So when I started wanted to talk about my medical marketing company, I would talk about marketing topics. Makes sense, right? So if you're someone who wants to start a medical practice consultant, you'll talk about, you'll write an article about, you know, 10 ways that you wish you would have known before starting a practice. You repost or retweet news on Twitter or on LinkedIn that are relevant to that industry. It allows you to establish yourself as an expertise. It also connects you with like-minded people. Um, you can join relevant groups and forums. You can start forums. Um, Once you become a consultant, you want to start a clean and attractive website. I'm not going to go into how to start up a website. There are very simple website tools out there like Wix.com, and you start a blog that dictates your expertise. It'll fill the dreams. If you build it, they will come. And that was one of the first ways that I started developing clients. Is I just start talking about relevant news in my industry. People will link to that and say, "Hey, this guy kind of knows what he's talking about. Let me email him, and I have a question that I'm kind of struggling with. Maybe you can help answer for them." I know a doctor who started her own consulting business. She doesn't even have she has a website now, but she started getting her business all through using LinkedIn, which you're not familiar with. LinkedIn is basically a Facebook uh, platform for businesses, and it continues to grow. I know many who don't even have a website have a thriving consulting business. So never let the tech part of it get out of the way. Um, so in conclusion, I wanted to just really focus about consulting, give you a general overview. It's a great way of starting it. You can start it on your own time. Um, I've had a consulting business where I worked sometimes 40, 50 hours of work on a project, and then other times I didn't work at all. And I took a vacation from that. So what I decided to do, so when I was looking to develop another revenue stream, one of the first avenues I turned to was consulting. And I remember getting my first $4,000 client. And it was just as I was leaving medicine, I was, transacting it over the phone. And I realized I'd made more money in that one time doing some consulting than I did for probably that week in medicine. Um, so for those who are serious and they're looking to pursue this, um, I've been talking a lot about consulting MD course that I'm doing. And I hadn't been, last time I talked about this is about 2 years ago, and the industry has changed. And there's some more resources and more opportunities to get into it that makes it even easier. There's more uh, ways you can create better websites. There's more ways that you can create an audience, more ways that you can find clients to come to you rather than you to go to them. And if this is something that you're serious, you want to devote to doing this, then I would like to have the opportunity to mentor you on this. It's a gift that I wanted to give to you. It's called Consulting MD, and I call it 8 weeks to high paid physician consulting. And, my goal at doing this is, to be honest, the amount of money that I generate for somebody purchasing this is not really a big deal, to me. But I always as a physician, I sympathize with my colleagues, and they really struggle, and there's a lot of people struggling. And then when I see things like, they're burnt out, and I don't want to talk about it, but, they turn to drastic means to get out of their situation. And my goal is to say, hey, there are other ways that you could start generating revenue rather than just working for a hospital, going in, checking in, having them treat you like, an indentured servant, and then you go home. And there are opportunities that are out there. And I want to give back to entrepreneurship, because that allowed me to be where I got to be today. And that's why I developed the Consulting MD program, 8 weeks to high paid physician consulting. And so what it is, it's an 8-week online training program. You don't have to come here. Um, you don't have to fly in. You can do this in the comfort in your own home. Each week, I'm going to be going over and starting. Basically, I'm going to assume when I've done my polling, some of you have done some consulting already, which is awesome. You're actually going to go even further than others, but some of you hasn't even gotten started. Everybody in there are pretty much all healthcare professionals, or all physicians. And I'm basically going to tell you everything I've known in over 15 years of doing this type of work. We're going to talk about things like how to use the internet to start with little or no overhead, and how to maximize profits to deliver your consulting platform. We're going to talk about more into the different niches. We actually go through this in the first 2 weeks. We're going to go over the different areas that I see that are ideal for physicians, about 16 different niches that I see that not a lot of are taking advantage of, that I think is just ripe for the pickings. Best resources for getting new engagements, meaning getting new clients and getting new projects. Talk about how to use social media efficiently to get new clients. Talk about how to marketing. That's what I know about doing, consulting your business with a website or even technical know-how. How to finally charge what you're worth, charging fees, how to sell without selling. And, you can become a consultant by being ethical and providing value, and them super happy with what you've done and getting paid for that, which is often what we don't get in medicine these days. Killer strategies: establish your expertise and find the decision makers. Each week is going to be recorded. Each week kind of builds on what you've learned. My goal at the end of Consulting MD is I give you the entire framework. By the end of 8 weeks, you're going to have a profitable consulting business. It's everything that I wish I knew. It took me almost a year and thousands of dollars spending with other mentors to try to figure this out. That's what I'll be doing over the next week. We're going to have a private Facebook group that's going to be even separate for the students, so you can interact with other doctors, see what they liked, what they disliked. And what I love about doing a course like this is because I get feedback, and the course is not set in stone. So if there's something that I didn't cover that you want me to go into, I can always change it the week after. That's what makes the course, and that's why I like doing this type of online training, is because I'm getting the feedback from you. Was there a point that I missed and I kind of glossed over and you want to know more about, or there's an area I'm like, yeah, I think we're okay on this, we can move forward with that. It can always be changing, and that's why it could be. That's why I like doing those kind of things. But my goal is by the end of the 8 weeks is that you have given you everything that I know that I wish someone had told me to get me started. So, like I said, last time I did this over 3 years ago. Just wanted to give you a testimonial. This is a Blair. She's actually a pharmacist who actually started her first 3 coaching clients, and this was like after like the first week, actually working with her on that. And she says it's been a great experience. Got my first 3 coaching clients, and we're just finishing up their program. Thank you for giving me the courage to go for it. And I'll show, for those who want to know where to go and you want to purchase it, I'm going to go in and show you the actual page where to go. And I kept fighting on the price that I wanted to do this. To be honest with you, I should charge $10,000 for this course, because that's my goal, is to have you have a 5-figure business by the end of the 8 weeks. I'm not going to charge you $10,000, but that's, for me, that's how much it's worth. And really, this is not more of a cost. This is more, I like to think of it more of as an investment. This is an investment in you and your future. If you don't like the way things are going right now, what are you going to do right now that's going to change the situation that you're in? We're in December right now as we're recording this. These types of things are, I have to say this with a knock on wood, but this is an educational course. These are tax deductible things that you can do if you're looking for another tax deduction and not participate. I hope you participate, but it is an opportunity for doing that. I wanted to price something that's not going to break the budget for that. And then when I was talking with different doctors, I know that I'll give you an example. Like when I was in medicine, I was in medical school, there was like the doctors the students who like never went to class and they got the tapes. This is back in the 90s, so that's when we had tapes. And they went home and then they aced all their classes. And then they had ones who like went to everything and attended everything. And they also did well. I'm sure there was different mixes of both on in there. So what I wanted to do is I priced things, I gave two different price points. And the price of the course for the 8 weeks, it's $1,200 for the basic program. And then I get a premium program for those who wanted an extra help. And that's going to be $3,000. But so that's for the 8 weeks, and that's a bargain, for that. But I decided to be even dumber, and my accountants probably think I'm even stupider. For the people who are on the call right now, I'm going to actually cut that price in half. So, but you have to go to this website. It's called bootstrapmd.com/special. And so that's for the entire 8 weeks. And for the next 20 people, I'm going to give you a 50% off. And I'm going to go and send you to the website if I could figure out how to do this thing. So if you're going to go, we can go in and look at the website together here. Oh, where is it? And let me go in and type this in. And I'll type it in bootstrapmd.com/special. And we'll share the screen with you guys. And, or you guys can go in there now and I'll kind of walk you through it. Go to share screen. Okay, so here's the website. And if you click on, this is the program, 8 weeks to high paid physician consulting. And here's the agenda. So for the first week, we're going to go over physician consulting, setting the foundation. We're going to start talking about the different niches in week 2. Week 3 is called setting up your consulting business. Week 4, we're going to talk about branding and establishing our expertise. We're going to talk about developing our platform. What are the type of social media properties we need to have? How do we start sharing content? Week 5, developing your platform and creating actual services people want to buy. I talk about different types of consulting prices that you can do. Week 6 talks about marketing your business with free and low cost methods. This is like my bread and butter right there. I love free and low cost methods. Week 7 is managing your work effectively, the power of internet outsourcing, and week 8 is taking consulting business to the next level. And let you know, it's not going to be straight 8 weeks. We'll probably take a week off during Christmas and such. But generally, it's going to be over. You should be able to finish this by the next 8 or 9 or 10 weeks is when we're going to be having this course. And just hearing some of the people who I worked with in the past, and just let you know, there's some income claims. I don't qualify for the income claims that some other people have done here. But see, doctors would have taken me years on my own. This one said he generated $1.7 million. More aha moments, better grasp of the process, useless what he has to offer. Some people that I've worked with in the past, and I've worked with some pretty good people who've done very, very well. So we have a basic program. It's a do-it-yourself. So if you're within the next first 20, and we've already had some purchases already, so thanks for those guys who've already done it. You guys are really quick. You guys have done really well with medical school. So for those people, the doctors, the medical students who's like, I'm just going to listen to all the tapes and I'll just do it myself. So our price is $600. That gives you the entire training, all the recordings. Just click there. That's paid in full. And then we have a premium program. So what this is you're going to get all the recordings. Each week we're going to release something. Then we're going to have a second meeting that later that week live on a Q&A call. And basically we're going to talk about what any questions you had on that first session. And that's going to be a live call. You can call in or chat. And so basically, it allows you to make sure that you're actually getting it. It's kind of like an additional tutor from that session that we did earlier. And then we're also going to have some homework assignments for those folks. And that one I'm going to give email feedback, like, or if you like want me to look at your branding website, etc. That's going to be, so that's the premium program. So that's going to be $3,000. But if you will get it in the next first, I think we got 16 people left. It's 1,500 for that. So that's the program. And again, I can take some questions for those who have questions. And let's see here. So if you have any chats, let me go ahead and answer that now. By the way, did you guys like this? Was this worth your time? I hope you got something out of that. I need that positive reinforcement. Okay, because I was just a lowly primary care doctor. Okay, let's see. And if I can figure out how to do this. Okay. Someone's asking that if they can do split payments. We don't do one on the first one. If you want to do the second one, we can talk about that. Just email me at info@mwmpro.com and we can figure something out for that. Let's see. Okay. When does the classes start? We're going to start probably in the next week or so. Okay. Thanks, Ahmed. Thanks for doing that. And once you do purchase, we will send you something in the email, and we're going to make that available to you guys. So yeah, if you guys want to do split payments, you can just do it. And then, he said he did the credit. Yeah, they have a PayPal credit thing that you can do too for those. So I don't know too much about that. And let's see. Oh, just thanks. Yep, we'll be in touch. Good. All right. And let's see, what else can I do? Oh, also, I don't know if anybody's going to be in Las Vegas. I'll be in Las Vegas next week for the Agent Management Conference, but we're doing a little get together if you're going to be up there. But if you're going to be joining in and going to that, I'm happy to buy a beer or something there. I don't drink, but okay. Other questions I can answer for you guys. Awesome, great stuff. Yep, thanks, appreciate it. I love the positive reinforcement. Okay, and all right. I think that is other thing. Okay, I will switch this over here. And again, the website is bootstrapmd.com/special, and you'll see the links right there. So let me finish up. I think there's a few more things that I have to share here. Oh, we're also doing a little bonus too. I forgot to mention. If you register, one of the things that I wanted to do is I really want to build this Consulting MD program up, and we're going to do a certification after the completion of the program. And once you're completed, what I've been building is a physician consultant directory. One of my skills is I know how to do SEO and search engine optimization. And so depending on what it is, and if it's relatable, I'll actually help market your first as another way of attracting new business for you. And we're going to create a physician consultant directory that we're going to be doing for that. So you're going to be added to that once you complete the program, and I know what you're doing and what you're consulting with. We're going to start marketing that for you too, and that's going to be a little bonus if you decide to purchase for that. So anyway, I promised to keep it to an hour. I did go over 10 minutes. So if you guys want to join again, the website is bootstrapmd.com/special. It's going to be for the next, the first 20 to purchase. And I already know people have already said that they did. So it's going to be up there until it's there. And then if not, it's going to go to the full price for that. So that's a deal, guys. 8 weeks, $600. I think that's we just say it's an hour. That's like less than, I think that's what I pay my PA. Oh, shoot. I shouldn't have told that. I'm revealing too much on here. I hope she's not listening. No, she pays pretty really well. Anyway, I'm going to have to edit that part out. Anyway, I want to thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys taking the time, whether or not you decide to join up. Either way, I hope you find, you know, that you're valuable. Don't devalue yourself as a physician. We're in a very special position. I know it can seem tough and crazy sometimes. Just stick with it. There are avenues of opportunities that you can get into. Keep your eyes open. For those who want to follow this path, awesome, incredible. Hope to work with you, and just keep playing along. You guys are doing good things in the world. Keep on doing that, and I look forward to working with our new students. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care, everybody, and also, they said it's recording. If you guys missed this, I think it recorded. If everything works well, I'll send this out so you guys can watch it again and me talk about rambling about physician consulting again. So thanks, everyone, and everyone have a good night.